All right, I'm going to give you perhaps the quickest software developer roadmap I can possibly think of. There's so many really good resources out there to learn this stuff, but they're really, really verbose. And I like to do something called reverse engineering, where basically I tell you, somebody that might not know what they should be able to do to be a hireable software developer. And instead of telling you every single little step, which would honestly take months, perhaps a year or more for sure, and that's what we do in our program. But instead of doing all that, I want to just tell you what you should be able to build with the technologies. It's going to sound probably like a whole bunch of jargon and things you don't understand. But if you just know what you should be able to build, your North Star, then you can reverse engineer your way back to get there. Right. So here we go. I'm going to give you the quickest web developer roadmap I can possibly think of using some technologies that I think are the safest bets to use in 2025 in order to be a hireable software developer. Let's go. So you need to be able to build a full stack web application. Yes, full stack. No, you cannot simply just be a front end developer only. Those days are far behind us, in my opinion, and I don't think we're going to be going back there anytime soon. So you need to build a full stack app that uses Next.js and React on the front end. Use Tailwind as the styling library, basically as the thing that makes it look really nice. It'll make the UI, the user interface, look really appealing without doing a whole lot of design. It should be mobile friendly off the bat. You should be able to have it look good on a big screen and a small screen. This is really important. It should have some sort of authentication. The authentication basically makes it so when a user wants to go to your website, they have some way of verifying who they are. This means that your app won't be just open to attacks, and it will also teach you about using authentication, which is honestly why you want to use it. Maybe your app doesn't need authentication. I still think you should learn how to use it and how to integrate authentication into your application because it's so important and it's something that you'll be expected to know on the job or at least understand how it works at a really fundamental level. This app should be deployed on Vercel. Deployed meaning it's hosted somewhere out there on the cloud, the computers that don't live in your house. So you're using somebody else's computers essentially. So this should be deployed using Vercel because Next.js and Vercel make it really, really simple to use together. Next.js works best on Vercel, which is a cloud service provider. It makes deploying your app to the cloud and letting people use it anywhere in the world so stupidly simple, it's ridiculous. Okay, next for the back end. On the back end, I think you should use Node and Express in TypeScript. If you're already using JavaScript, which you should be, because if you're going to be a web developer or really just any software engineer nowadays, you have to know JavaScript. I know everybody wants to learn Python. I know everybody wants to learn anything else besides JavaScript right now, but JavaScript is still the king of the web and it's used in most software applications. So you have to learn it. You just need to learn it. It's really easy to start with. So yes, learn it. Now on the back end, I think you have a little more flexibility. I would use TypeScript, but if you really are dead set on using something else, pick whatever you want for the backend. Use Python, Java, Go. Don't use Rust. It's way too difficult. You're going to get stuck and not be able to keep up. So use one of those languages there. You're going to be fine. I strongly suggest using TypeScript, Node, and Express. The boring things, the things people hate, also tend to be the most popular. These are the things that I've been using for the last decade to write code, essentially, and they're not going anywhere. A lot of enterprise companies use these tools, so they're not bad bets to make. Now, this is something new that most people aren't suggesting you do right now that I highly suggest you do. Use AI, use RAG. RAG is retrieval augmented generation. I'll be doing a separate course on that because I feel like it's so new and that there's not enough information about how to do this in an actual practical way. I've been doing this at work recently in an actual practical way for a service that people use, and it's been really fun. But there's also just not much documentation or just material out there to learn it. So I've been learning through trial and error with a team of really smart people. And now that I've learned how to do it and we've deployed it, I feel like I have enough knowledge to actually go forward and maybe teach other people how to do this. But anyway, I strongly suggest you use some AI in your application. That doesn't mean coding with AI. That is super duper simple and any idiot can do that. What I mean is using an API like OpenAI or like Llama or like Claude and actually integrating that into your code base so that when users type something in or want to use your data or you're trying to talk to your database, you can incorporate some AI into that. For example, let's say you had like a workout app or something like that. A user would type in like some information in a form, and then you would use AI to maybe understand what their actual request is because humans usually aren't very good about being like super articulate or telling you exactly what they want. You can condense that information using AI, then send that to your database to get like a very specific custom workout program for that person. Now, there's a lot of things in there to figure out, and it's much more difficult than I made it sound. But you could do this if you look it up and understand what is retrieval augmented generation. How can I use that within a Node Express and TypeScript app? Or how could I fine tune a model in order to maybe talk in my voice or something like that? These are really useful things to know how to do, and they're going to put you ahead of like 99% of developers and probably 100% of bootcamp grads that know zero about this kind of stuff. Now at Parsity, we're absolutely integrating this stuff into the curriculum and having people build with this stuff and just doing like little workshops and technical talks about this because I find it really interesting and also where the future of development is. And most boot camps are so far in the past, they're not even keeping up with this junk. Okay. And you should also have this deployed on AWS, Amazon Web Services. You could choose Azure or something like that. I don't suggest Heroku. I don't suggest Render. I suggest using a big boy, big girl, adult type of cloud service provider out there. You can hate me all you want, but most enterprise companies use AWS and you should learn how to use it too. So have it deployed on there. This is going to be really, really difficult to do. Not going to be fun to do. Use Lambdas for ease of use. Use EC2 if you want to rip out your hair a little bit more and maybe run up your AWS bill through the roof. But I would try to use either one of those things. You can always turn them off or set like some sort of limit on your bill so you don't get slammed at the end of the month with some wild bill. Okay, and very lastly, databases. Use SQL or use MongoDB. It doesn't really matter, to be completely honest with you. Use one, use the other, use both, use whatever you want. And if you are doing something with RAG, with retrieval augmented generation, I strongly suggest you use Pinecone for your vector database. Another buzzword that you're going to have to go out and figure out what the hell that means. But if you use a vector database for retrieval augmented generation, use Pinecone. Using SQL or MongoDB, in my opinion, doesn't really matter. You're probably not going to be a database engineer anyway. You should understand the basics of how data is stored in the cloud and how to query and retrieve it and structure it in a way that makes it easy for you as a developer to get this information into your front end application. And lastly, use an ORM. That means an object relational mapper like Prisma, for example, if you're using MongoDB or SQL. Prisma is one of my favorite. And if you're using TypeScript, it's kind of a no-brainer to use that. So I would use an object relational mapper like Prisma. There's many more out there, but what these basically do is the little bit of a layer of code between your code and the database to help you query, talk to your database in a way that is safe and secure and also just easier. Now, I broke this down really, really fast. This should actually get you pretty far. If you can build this, you're actually going to be a hireable software developer. You're building something that teams would build. Now, I didn't mention things like Git or how to write code well or all the other little nuances and things you have to learn in here. This is why a path like this can take up to a year. And if you want an actual path that's custom made, not just some generic thing that I threw up on the screen here, check out parsity.io. I work with the next software engineer from Google and me to work with a handful of people for a year to get them into a professional software engineering role. This is not an easy program. This is not quick. If you're looking for a get rich quick scheme, just go somewhere else. There's plenty of boot camps that will sell you on get rich quick schemes and take your hard earned money. We're not one of those places. If we don't think you're going to be a good fit, we'll tell you, and we'll tell you maybe where else you could go or other professions you could potentially consider that might be tech adjacent. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. If you want more information, you know where to find me. And if there's anything that I've missed or you think, what, I can't believe this wasn't on here, just tell me in the comments and maybe I'll make another video or go further in depth on this if people find this kind of stuff helpful. See you.